Got a question here from our buddy Robinson, who wants to know, yo Elliot, with so much information available out there and so many different books that you could possibly read and subjects to study, how do you know what to spend your time reading, studying, immersing yourself in, especially when there's so much that could be a waste of time? And he goes on to say that in becoming the strongest version of myself, I checked out your Pinterest profile, I read some of the books that you recommended already, but really, how do you decide what books you're going to read next? How can one find the right books in this gigantic pool of literature where there's so many books that could be a waste of time as opposed to supporting you? Great question, and one that I am constantly challenged with, but I do have a perspective that's going to support you. Just to give you some perspective first as to how I can relate, at least once a week, I grab what is now my hair. I grab my hair and I shake my head and I say to my wife, I want to know everything. I wish I could know everything right now. I start going down a vein or down a river of learning, and I become so excited and anxious that it's like I flip to the references and I want to read all the references. I want the book to be in my nervous system now instead of taking my time to read it. And that's we got to reconcile the difference between what we want, the end result, which is more understanding, more wisdom, and getting that shit into our brain. So I didn't mean to say this, but I'm going to preface what I'm about to share with you with an invitation to studying. Learn how to learn. There's a really good audio program. Begin with this. Now, you're right. Elliot's giving you more shit to study, but begin with this because it's going to give you a perspective, and it's going to give you tools for the things I'm going to talk about in a moment. Accelerated Learning by Brian Tracy. It's called the Accelerated Learning Course by Brian Tracy. And although there's a lot of fluff in it, I'm going to talk to you about how to navigate around the fluff. Also, there are some really useful tools, tips, techniques that you can use to increase your learning ability, because that's really what it's all about. How quickly can we not only bombard ourselves with powerful ideas, but how can we digest and assimilate these ideas? I've done videos on this in the past, so I'm not going to go too far down that route, but I would invite you to learn how to learn. The next step is, and this is really this is an invitation for self-exploration and commitment to a legacy. So before I even give you this next piece, that's really what my invitation would be. Is like, what do you feel how do you feel you're going to serve the world? With what type of service or product? How is it that you're going to ultimately take the things that you're learning and give it back? Do you see? And that's very important. So for me, which is the only thing I could use as an example, based on my experience, is anything related to the 4 layers of strength that I call, or that I say ultimately culminates to create the strongest version of an individual. It's taken me years. I'm 35 years old and I've been thinking about this for very long, and it's taken me years to figure out the 4 main areas of study that I'm going to spend my time studying for professional gain. When I say professional gain, again, it's my career, my profession, how I'm going to serve the world. So the very first thing is take your time and study the thing that you love and that you intend to use as a tool to serve others. My 4 layers of strength are neuromuscular strength. I only study things that are related to neuromuscular strength. The muscular system, the physiology of the human being as it relates to the muscular system, and the energetic expression of the human being as it relates to the other 3. So all the things that you hear me talk about in some way involve energetic strength, physiological strength, or neuromuscular strength. And that's what really, all the ideas that I share with you in these videos are an expression of, or grow out of my desire to learn those 3 things. The 4th layer of strength, presentable strength. Presentable strength is your ability to, like I said, take these things and serve the world with it. Make a place for yourself in the world with the ideas that you've decided to build your life around. Okay? There are 2 more things I want to invite you to consider. Also, and before I go further, these 3 ideas, your professional studies, which is the one I just shared with you, and the two more that I'm going to share, that I'm going to tell you now, come from Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale shared this idea with me in a program, an audio program called Lead the Field, I believe. I'm giving you more shit to study, right? The second one is understand your language. Come to know how to use your language, because he goes on to describe how the greater number of words that you understand and can use not only increase your ability to communicate, but increases your ability to think. Words point to abstract ideas. All words are just symbols to ideas, and ideas are abstract. Ideas are in the air. Ideas are ephemeral, if you will. Ideas are kind of, they're out there, and they've not been grounded in reality yet. Right? You know, we thought about landing on the moon before we landed on the fucking moon. Right? We thought about creating this information highway before we actually created the information highway. All the things that you ultimately manifest comes from the abstract down into reality. The more symbols you have for the abstract, the more you can put together ideas. See how magnificent that is? So if ideas is this pool of energy, words are ways to point to different areas within this pool of consciousness, this pool of energy. The more words you understand, the more you can learn. And that goes back to, your learning capacity, which is the very first thing I invited you to do. And then finally, the third piece is to understand, study, and make your mission in life to also know your history. It's a crazy one, right? You wouldn't think that Elliot, how does that serve my ability to develop my capacity as a scientist, or as a poet, or as an artist, or an architect, whatever it is? Understanding your history gives you a frame of reference for where you are in this dance of humankind. Because it'd be nice to say that humankind or life is linear, but there are those who believe, if you study the Hindu tradition, that life is circular. And where are we on this circular dance that humanity's doing? Part of the reason why that's important to know, if you study Hinduism, they're not even really interested in history because they think it just keeps doing this. But I find it important to know, and the majority of people that study this way find it important to know, because it gives you the tools in order to navigate your life in avoiding problems of the past. You're learning from, you're standing on the shoulders of giants, if you will. Right? So things like studying the history of your country, Western civilization, Eastern civilization, and then biographies. I think biographies are really important because they give you the grassroots experience of people during the particular phases of this, human evolution. So there you have it. The three main things I wanted to share with you in this video, prefaced by Learn How to Learn, are your main area of study that you ultimately are going to use to serve the world. Is the very first one. And you make that the second one, which is a tremendous support mechanism, is your language. Study language. But if you're reading a lot, you're studying language also. But study language, no more words. And then finally, history. Know who you are and where you stand in this struggle. I think that's Bob Marley. Done.